Welcome back to the 10-second runoff powered by Culture Media with your host, Joe Mitchell, producer Magic Mikey Shiaza, and our boy Brogan Bourgeois. Brogan, you got a lot of Alabama stuff on. How we feel today?
I feel like shit. I'm sad. It's finally come to an end. This is straight tribute gear. I don't know if you want to jump into it now or after the Michigan-Washington game.
No. We got the witness history. We got to jump into this now. I'm drinking Bywater bourbon from 7-3 Distilling. 7-3 Distilling is an awesome company out of New Orleans, Louisiana. They're fantastic. Bywater bourbon is by far my favorite, but they have a Gentilly Gin, St. Rock vodka. They have a they have a Black Pearl rum. Irish Channel whiskey, anything that you could want in terms of spirits, they got it. So in the spirit of Nick Saban retiring today, you go ahead and drink one for all the Bama faithful, and I'll drink one for the rest of college football. How about that?
That sounds good. This wasn't my first, and it won't be my last.
Fair enough.
It's just one of those days. You know, it's the greatest of all time. He retires. I thought he had another two in him. Thought it was kind of like a pearly white gate send-off is what we were trying to orchestrate. But obviously he was ready, and you can't be mad at the GOAT for leaving on his own terms when he wants.
No doubt about it. Look, again, you're very clearly an Alabama fan. You went to Alabama, graduated from there, and, you know, all of that good stuff. So why don't you talk about for a second what it means to have gotten to experience that firsthand? We all watched and, you know, experienced the wrath of Nick Saban in Alabama, but you were on the winning side of it. So why don't you go ahead and jump into that?
Yeah, it was something special. The state itself was kind of run through that man. It's hard to put in the words what he has done for that city. He has his own street, has his own church, not the actual church, but like the community center is named after him. What he has done strictly for the Tuscaloosa economy, I don't know if it's been quantified yet, but I'm really interested to everything from student enrollment, housing, businesses. Like that is where all of my texts with my buddies are like, shorten the Tuscaloosa housing market, because whoever they find to replace him is not going to be as successful, and they have a very, very large out-of-state student pull-in. So, you know, it goes beyond football, what that man has done for that state, for that city, and for that school. And I think there was just a lot of people expected there to be like a soft launch of a retirement, and this one's kind of just ripping the Band-Aid off really quick. What he has done with the program, everybody knows the statistics. I saw one right before we hopped on. He was favored in 96% of the games that he played as a coach at the University of Alabama.
That's strong.
Which is that is nuts. That is nuts. So just it could be put in the words, but not right now. And I need a notepad with about 10 pages about what he's done for the team, the school, the city. But you like nobody's mad at him. You can't be. Yeah, not with all the success that he's brought to the team and to the college football world. So next couple days will be interesting. My whole Twitter says tomorrow we will find out. I'm sure we've been reading the same stuff. The buzzword names: Dan Lanning, Mike Norvell, James Franklin. Fuck out of here. Do not come over here, James Franklin. But everybody's kind of landing on Dan Lanning. Saw something that he took a private plane from Eugene a couple hours ago, and we'll be interviewing tomorrow morning. Take that with a grain of salt, but it did come from a flight tracker. So,
the flight tracker.
That is the greatest, like, not football sports related app idea. Like, that's the best thing ever. Like the coaching carousel, everybody just gets on My Radar 247 or whatever it is. And it's but that's what we got right now. So I'll let you take over with being on the flip side of the Nick Saban and the normal college football realm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're looking at the chat, but Joseph Flanagan says, "I can't do this, Brogan. You're a better man than me." I'll take it. He's a Bama fan.
Thanks, Joey. Yeah, we actually were both at the Rose Bowl, so we experienced his last ever collegiate coaching game.
Yeah.
Which when I got home from work, I went up to Dad and I was like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "Hey, we saw his way out." Like that's not many people could say that. So that was kind of a little special thing to be a part of, and especially with my old man, who's a big college football fan as well. So
yeah, well, you took Michigan to overtime. They didn't lose a game all year. You gave them the best game. We all kind of had the idea that was the championship in the Rose Bowl. So, incredible career. I got to run through this for a second here. You said you didn't have the words. You would need, some time and about 10 pages on your notepad. I'll just give you a rundown. Because we all recognize Nick Saban as the GOAT, but I don't think we've all taken the time to collectively look at what he's done. And not just in terms of statistics and championships and SEC championships and championship appearances and all of those things. But the time he got to the SEC, it was loaded. He got to the SEC in 2007. LSU won the national championship that year. A lot of people forget because Arkansas fell off a little bit, but at that time, they had Darren McFadden and Felix Jones, 2 top 5 rushers in the entire nation. Georgia finished the season as AP number 2 after demolishing Hawaii in the Sugar Bowl that year. I don't know if you remember that. What else?
Yeah, this is cool. This is like names and teams that I just completely forgot. Like when you said Arkansas, I was like, is that Darren McFadden? Like, yeah. Household name, the whole SEC when we were kids.
Tennessee played for the SEC championship that year. Auburn and Florida rounded out the top 15. So those teams right there are all top 15. That was a solid SEC. And Saban came right in. Obviously, he went 6-6 in 07. In 08, Florida won the Natty, just to keep you all on the idea of how good the SEC was. They made a documentary about that Florida team. Tebow, Urban Meyer. They made a freaking documentary about it. And who was it that put an end to all that? Alabama in the SEC championship game in 09. On their way to a national championship and sending Texas into oblivion. Colt McCoy was the quarterback that year, and that was a wrap. It started the meme of, is Texas back? No, Texas isn't back. They weren't back till this year. Alabama was the one that sent them into oblivion with Nick Saban. 2010. Cam Newton and Auburn made an incredible comeback against Alabama in 2010. That's Alabama's only loss of the year. Cam Newton and Auburn goes on to win the national championship. 2011, Alabama loses 1 game in the regular season, avenges that loss to LSU in a 21-0 beatdown. Not close. Demolishing of LSU in 2011 in the national championship. 2012, they repeat. 2013, it's the kick 6 year. Bama's only loss. Very well would have gone to the BCS national championship that year. 2014, the playoffs start. And Nick Saban and Alabama make 8 of the 10 college football playoff appearances. That's unbelievable. They won 3 of them and played for the national championship 6 times. I don't know if you comprehended all of that, but he got there at the peak of the strength of the SEC when Alabama was a 6-6 team and turned Alabama into the powerhouse of college football and was relevant the entire time. Not only relevant, was the big dog the entire time. In that time, he saw Florida's rise and fall. He saw Urban Meyer leave, not only leave, but go on to take Ohio State to a national championship and then leave football. Like, that is wild in and of itself. That is wild in and of itself. LSU won a national championship in Alabama's first season. You saw the rise of LSU, the fall of LSU. The rise of LSU, 2 6-6 seasons, and then now they're starting to come back up. So you witnessed that. You witnessed Georgia go from being the number 2 AP team in the entire country to kind of falling into mediocrity and then starting the dynasty that looks like it is Georgia now. I think in this time period, you had all kind of ridiculous teams. Kansas State was in the top 5 at one point. Oklahoma State, every fan base, not every, but there's a large majority of fan bases that experienced a taste of success in Nick Saban's run, and Bama never ever experienced what it was like for the rest of those teams, right? So those teams got a little taste of success, and that's all Bama tasted during that time. That's unbelievable. And what Nick Saban did at Alabama will forever keep Alabama to that standard, right? And I don't think we'll never see another Nick Saban, but what he did at Alabama will not soon be forgotten, and it will absolutely maintain the standard there. What you got? We got a comment?
Yeah, we got a comment in the chat that says, "We get it. He's the GOAT by a mile." LOL.
Who was that? Let's see.
I think you know who it was.
Ray.
I do. They're a Go Tiger, so this is a little salty. But there's I watched like a 5-minute clip because he was infamous for his press conferences, and they threw all his best clips together because he hated talking to people as he did. And I think it was like a couple years ago. He's like, I came in here and we were excited about a win. And at this point in my career, we're excited. We're not excited by beating a team by 20. Y'all want us to beat it by 40. He's like, that's not how it worked. And it's just like that one sentence just shows what y'all were happy for 6-6 when I came in. Now y'all expect 10-win seasons like it's nothing. So it's been cool seeing all the old pictures, seeing all his old players kind of come in and just give him all the props that he deserves. He'll never see those because he refuses to get with the times, but that's the beauty of him in and of itself. The school right now is in shambles. There's like hundreds of students outside of the stadium right by a statue dropping off oatmeal cream pies, Cokes, flowers, beads, Alabama memorabilia, and just singing Dixieland Delight over and over and over again. So everybody kind of understands how great he is there, which makes me feel better as like a recent graduate that everybody didn't get too spoiled and is giving him everything that he deserves. Going forward, though, looking a little rough. There's always a saying when you not with the school, but like looking in, like everybody talks about, you want to be the coach that replaces the guy that replaced the guy. Everybody wants to be the third coach in that scenario if Nick's the first. So there's already a lot of outward pressure, not being administered by the school or the team, but by the general public. That whoever they go with next, like you're biting off more than they can chew. And I'll be damned if Nick doesn't give the ultimate 100% seal of approval. If he's interviewing people and has been taking interviews and he's like, I'm like 70% on this guy, the school should be just burning and turning until he gets the one that he likes.
Yeah. Let me say here from an outside perspective. Obviously, I'm not an Alabama fan. I have no affiliation with Alabama other than the fact that you're on this show with me. But what I will say, what are you doing? You just throwing up the A?
Yeah, why not?
What I will say is that the last head coaching job in college football that Nick Saban had, and obviously he went to Miami before Alabama, the Dolphins. But the last head coaching job that he had in college football outside of Alabama was LSU. And LSU now runs coaches off for not having 10-win seasons. And that was not the case before Nick Saban. What Nick Saban did at LSU was he created a standard. He brought in a staff, built a coaching tree that is unbelievable, and just nailed that in the fan base there, that anything less is unacceptable. And you've had a lot of unacceptable seasons since Nick Saban at LSU, but that's not the standard, and people get run off because of it, and that's going to be the case with Alabama. Anything less than 9-10 wins on a regular basis is wrong, and that is the way it will remain. I mean, we're coming up on 20 years removed. We're 16, 17 years removed from Nick Saban leaving LSU, and the goal of LSU in that entire time frame was you better be able to compete with them. And that's the way it's going to be at Alabama, and that's the way it will be at whenever. No, I'm not even going to make that comparison. Nick Saban's the GOAT, and that's the mark that he leaves on universities. We got a comment in the chat,
and I think.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that clip of him and Will Muschamp at LSU is my favorite coaching clip of all time, where both of them are sprinting down, reaming out whoever the poor soul was that probably just didn't give enough effort. That is the best coaching clip to this date of any time period, and just goes to show that it was expected of him, but he also coached his coaches like that, which is just something that, like, there's every time Bama plays an SEC opponent, they show his record against his ex-coaches. Half of those ex-coaches will also be Hall of Fame coaches as well. So
Let me jump in right there because we got a comment in the chat from Joseph again. Active FBS head coaches in Saban's coaching tree: Kurt Signetti, Jim McElwain, Kirby Smart, Mario Cristobal, Lane Kiffin, Billy Napier, Mike Loxley, Butch Jones, Steve Sarkisian, Charles Huff, Dan Lanning, Brent Key, Lance Taylor. That is ridiculous. He had them all as assistants in his programs over the years. Not to mention the powerhouse of college football right now. And we're going to get to Michigan winning the national championship, but at the same time, we can also recognize that Georgia is a massive powerhouse in college football. Kirby Smart, like Saban put him on. Like, it is what it is. Mario Cristobal, what he's doing in terms of recruiting at Miami, he's got a ways to go. He's a couple years out, in my opinion. But what he's doing at Miami in terms of recruiting, like, they should be turning around here pretty shortly. Dan Lanning had one of the best defenses in the nation at Georgia, took it to Oregon, played for a Pac-12 championship. And the list goes on, right? Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss had them as a top 10 team for the majority of the year this year. It's unbelievable the guys that come out of Alabama, Nick Saban's coaching tree. Even Billy Napier, he's struggling at Florida right now, but he won several Sun Belt championships in a row with ULL. So there's no comparison. I know it hurts.
Yeah.
I know it hurts as a Bama fan losing Nick Saban, but enjoy it because you had it.
Yeah, no, that's every single one of his recruiting classes. If you stayed the full four, experienced a national championship. Nobody else will be able to say that. Yeah, I could just confidently, like, that's absurd. Ever since you started building a team, if you stayed the full four, maybe a fifth, you got a national championship. And as a student there, that's absurd. Like, we played in three, won one. But it was awesome. I hope it can stay outside of the football stuff. I'm so beyond curious what happens to Tuscaloosa. So going forward with the show, I will just keep you updated on that, just because that's just it's going to be, that city did not exist to the magnitude that it does now, and the school did not exist academically to where it is now. So it's going to be interesting to be an alumni and continue seeing what happens going forward beyond the football team. But yeah, sat behind him one time in church, shook his hand, gave it, and then he had to arrive 15 minutes in and leave 15 minutes early because he's the most popular celebrity in that town. And that was like one of the few times I went in undergrad, not gonna lie, a lot of people don't go to Alabama for school. I attempted to, but seeing him, it was outside of his aura of being a perfect coach and role model to all of his players, was kind of cool.
In the comments, Ray said, at least y'all didn't lose him on Christmas Day. Definitely a Go Tigers in there. He's a little upset.
Yeah, what the hell?
Cole Speed said Kiff's coming home. So that's interesting. He's talking about Lane Kiffin there. Obviously, there's a relationship. Even before the bowl game, they asked Lane Kiffin who he was pulling for in the semifinals, and he said, "You know how I feel. Roll Tide, roll." Little odd. If I was a fan of any other school and my head coach said that, I'd be like, "Whoa, what are we doing here?" Especially an SEC West rival.
Yeah.
So I definitely see the connection there. I wouldn't be incredibly shocked to see that. I think all the smoke is on Mike Norvell right now. He's got a $4 million buyout. That's relatively low. Just speaking. Yeah. I mean, $4 million is nothing for Alabama.
In the buyout world. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one makes.
And that's who I told you all year when we talked about, like, replacing him, or who do you think's the next best coach in the college football world. And I said Mike Norvell over and over again. I don't know if you remember, but that's where I stood. And maybe if he's pissed off enough about the ACC, he wanders on over. But just might have called it. Just throwing that into the universe. Wouldn't be mad at that one either. My two that I personally want are Lane and Mike. and I wouldn't be mad at Dan.
Oh, so you were leaning earlier in the show. I thought you were leaning Dan.
No, that's the general consensus
Gotcha.
across. If I had to power rank them, Kiffin, Norvell, Danny.
Really, I would probably go the exact opposite. I think I would go Lanning
In
1.
that order?
I think I would go Lanning 1, Norvell 2, Kiffin 3. But who knows? I think what Dan Lanning is doing, getting guys to not just one but two quarterbacks out of the transfer portal, and the level at which he's recruiting. He got Justin Flo a couple years ago to commit to Oregon. Like, he's getting big time dudes to commit to Oregon, which is it's completely Northwest, like way out of the picture of competitive college football. I know you can talk about West Coast a little bit, and you can say it's got Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. Again, way out of the picture of competitive college football when you're talking about the South and the Midwest. So it's a long.
You could say it is a whole Washington. You could say it is a whole Washington got shit pumped on Monday night. Like, it is what it is. Like, you don't got to backtrack at all.
Well, I do think Washington had a great year, and for that matter, Washington beat Oregon twice. But I think what Dan Lanning's got going on at Oregon is something serious. So I think that would be a great addition to Alabama's, or not addition, but replacement. And you'll never get Saban again, but I think that's probably your best bet there. Joseph Flanagan said Mike Norvell would be comedy. All those Bama players that transferred to Florida State are going to be pissed. That's true. And honestly, if Alabama gets Lane Kiffin, the meltdown in Oxford might be worth it. I might go Lane Kiffin 1.
Yeah, I mean, just because of what he's done in the portal this year, but then they'd probably follow him. Like, they would just follow. They'd be pissed. They'd be like, "Damn, I moved to Oxford for a month. Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Now I got to move to another nowhere." But yeah, I'm terrified of the portal that's going to open tomorrow for 30 days. We already saw it. We're losing the number 4 wide receiver, number 9 overall guy in 2025, who was committed since like sophomore, freshman year. Played in the stadium for his Alabama State Championship this year.
That's the wide receiver.
Like, dude was all in. Yeah. But DB coach left, or wide receiver coach left, Saban left.
Yeah.
I don't blame the kid. Like, that's your whole recruiting. Like, that's who talked to you. There's your position coach. There's your head coach. If you don't like the offense coordinator, why the hell would you stay?
On another note, Alabama, I talked about how Nick Saban in 2009 sent Texas into oblivion. It would be awesome if Nick Saban leaving Alabama sent Texas into oblivion because Sark takes over at Alabama. That would be something. I don't think that's going to happen. You don't want that? You don't want that?
No.
You don't like Steve Sarkisian?
Like,
I do, Texas
but he's made it. Yeah, I know, but he's made his bed with Texas. I kind of just want him to stay. I think he can keep Texas relevant, which I'd rather him buy into that program. And like I said, they're going to be contenders, but when we talk about are they back? No, I said that. They lost to Washington. Washington got embarrassed by Michigan. So it's just like, I leave Sark in Austin. And then maybe he could be the third guy in our situation. I'm cool with him being the third guy. I'm also cool with Lane being the third guy. I think that's what will happen. I think we'll get a buffer for however long he gives us, hopefully a 10-win season. And then it's Lane. Mm-hmm. Just because he has invested way too much into next year at Ole Miss. So it would So I think Lane or Sark are a good third guy, but I would also love for Lane to be the next guy.
Understandable. Well, we have the championship trophy in the middle of the screen here. It would be a shame if we didn't talk about the national title.
Let's get after it.
So let's get to that. We have Michigan and Washington. Look, Michigan comes out in that first quarter and dominates on the ground. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards combine for 160 yards on 6 carries in that first quarter. Donovan Edwards puts up 2 touchdowns. They take a 14-3 lead. You can put Brogan back on the screen here. At the end of that first quarter, what are you thinking?
Well, I had a friend send me a sharp sharp little bet, little pre-game time, which was Donovan Edwards under 36.5 rush yards. We watched the game together. I let him have it a little bit. The first time he touched the ball, you go for 41 and a touchdown. So the next kind of drive was blacked out due to a little bit of betting rage.
Well, if you don't remember, he had a 46-yard touchdown on that next possession. So,
I'm talking about Washington's. I might have chosen to forgot Washington's next possession.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, he's like, he got hit at the line of scrimmage both times. I'm like, they went down though. So, after those first 1, 2, 3 drives, I thought it was going to get ugly, real ugly, really fast. But the weakest part of Washington played the best 3.5 quarters of their season.
Which is what?
Their defense, outside of maybe 2.5. If you take out the first 2 drives of that first quarter and the end of the fourth quarter that they got thrown into, it was impressive what they were able to hold Michigan to. I feel like there was a bunch of spots in that first half where momentum was building quickly for Michigan, and they went out there and held their own after those 2 gashing runs.
I would say specifically the Washington secondary. The defensive backs for Washington played out of their mind. Lots of bang plays, really really nice breakups in the pass game, or pass defense rather. They played really well on the perimeter, great open field tackles on the edges there. So I love to see that. I love defense. I love watching defensive backs ball. I know a lot of people don't love the low scoring games, but I love the chess match that is defense in college football. It's probably my favorite part of the game. So I love seeing that. I will say, Michael Penix Jr. and Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze was he was a finalist for the Blitnikoff. Michael Penix Jr. finished second in Heisman voting. Didn't get the game that we expected out of them. It looked like they were just on a couple different it looked like they were on different pages throughout the entirety of it. Jalen McMillan was really their go-to receiver there, who's fantastic in his own right. I harped on their 3, Odunze, McMillan, and Polk. But McMillan took the bulk of those receptions, and there was a time there in that second quarter where Kalen DeBoer just, he felt like he was losing momentum. He had to go for it on 4th down, and it was 4th and short, and Michigan was in cover 2, and we disagreed about this, so I want to talk about it, air it out here. We disagreed about this, but it was 4th and short. Rome Odunze, what's in the glass, Brogan, as a comment. It's Bywater bourbon, brother. 7.3 distilling.
This is Bywater bourbon. Not, like I said earlier, not the first, not the last for this evening. It's out of New Orleans. You can get it at Total Wine. Speed, I know where you're at. They do have it over here in Texas, and it's damn good.
Money.
But as you were saying, Joe.
Yeah. So 4th and short, Washington's going for it. They got to get some momentum back. Michigan's in cover 2. The corner sits in the flat. Odunze beats him over the top. Doesn't beat him. That's his job, is sit in the flat. But Odunze gets over that corner. You got a safety rolling down to cover the half. Odunze puts it on his outside shoulder. You said Odunze missed him. Let's talk about it.
I said that Penix missed him.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Penix missed Odunze over his outside shoulder. That's what you said.
And Rome, I think, came out and tweeted the next day, that was on me, or said it in a press conference or something, and he owned up to it. But I think it's 50-50 now if the receiver kind of owns up to it, yeah. But Penix stacked him, and that safety was coming over, so I see why he was trying to put it over that back shoulder. But, I mean, he had the numbers. And if you put that on the line, every time Penix dropped back, I watched a couple, that thing was on a laser to guys in the middle of the field. So I just don't see why he might have not. I'm not going to hit Penix. He's about to be an NFL quarterback. But I don't see why you don't put that on a line to his near shoulder. That's just my fan watching ball opinion. But Rome said it was on him. I feel like it's a 50-50. But that was watching it with 5 guys at the house. And it sucked the energy out the house. So, in a stadium, that everybody was like this. We had to have that. I still am a little on maybe Penix's fault, but like I'm not going to point fingers, but I don't know.
I
It's
think
tough. I feel like it could be 50-50 both ways.
I think that the only way Penix is at fault on that play is if you want to blame him for Odunze not being on the same page as him. Because to me, in terms of football IQ, knowing that the receiver is he's on top of the corner, you got a safety rolling down to play that half. If you put it on his inside shoulder or lead him at all, the safety now has a chance at the bang-bang play or even the pick. He's setting Odunze up to get destroyed if you put him on the seam. But if you lead it to his outside where nobody's on the boundary and he can just run and go catch the ball, he's dancing in the end zone. Like, to me, I feel like that was a very high football IQ play on Penix. But if Odunze wasn't expecting that, then maybe you can fault Penix for, not knowing his receiver well enough. But to me, like, let's say he puts it on the seam, but he leaves it, he underthrows Penix. I think there's two options as the receiver there. You get past the corner, you realize the safety's playing cover 2, he's got you over top, you find the hole and you sit in it. Or you keep your streak and you break it outside so that the quarterback can then lead you. Yeah, nice.
No. I knew that's where you were going with the second one. You got to hit it with the lean a little bit, little one of these, something like that. But it's I hate that was as big as a play as it was in that game.
Yeah.
It was a simple miscommunication between them. Maybe they thought one thing, I thought the other,
and you did say that Penix was putting lasers over the middle of the field. I will say that the difference there, from my perspective, I'm not in the film room or anything like that, obviously, but I would say that the biggest difference there is whenever he's throwing those lasers over the middle, it's into holes that are quickly closing. Whereas you put it outside because nobody's there. Like, those are two very different scenarios from a passing perspective. Joseph Flanagan said, "Big update, gents." Joseph, we waiting on you, man. Throw it in there. What we got? In the meantime, so Michigan, Michigan obviously gets the ball back. Washington has a really good stand. They kind of, in their own like mini Cold War there for a second. Dan Lanning delayed player meetings tomorrow, pushed them back 2 hours. Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Landing in Tuscaloosa?
Ooh.
Dan Lanning in Tuscaloosa.
And that was the buzz. That came out like 2 hours after the original one. Pacific Coast time, 2 hours. Football math. That is our Cali info line. So appreciate the math for that, Joe. He needed that. I'm going to hit on this real quick, then get back to the game. That was the original when I was refreshing Twitter every 4 minutes to see if it was real and where we were going next. I kept seeing Dan Lanning, so that doesn't surprise me. Flight tracker might be right. Okay. Let's go. I liked the Ducks as a kid. I love their unis.
I knew
Do
that's
not
where
try
you
and
were
change
going.
our unis, Dan Lanning.
I knew that's where you were going.
All right. Come on, dude. Gotta love the Ducks as a kid. Everybody did.
No. Mm-mm.
You can't tell me you didn't like Oregon as a kid. Dude, you're lying.
I'm not lying to you.
You weren't 7 years old with loving neon like the rest of us?
No.
Rocking knee-high elites and
You're
neon
capping
yellow
hard there,
with
Joe.
the green.
I'm not. Get on this. If you're going to talk, get on the screen, brother.
You're telling me you
You
didn't like see Marcus Mariota running around in these neon pink and green and white uniforms, and you were like, "That's sick."
Not
Yeah,
me.
and what was it? Michael Thomas at the running back after, who could outrun the sun?
LaMichael James.
Like those two? Well, Michael James. Michael Thomas. Why did I say Michael Thomas?
Yeah.
It's the
He was
Saints.
wide receiver at Ohio State.
Well,
Yeah.
Michael James. That was close. No, it wasn't. But, yeah, no, those two alone should have made you like Oregon. And then you realize, oh my God, they have a new uni every game.
See, this is
That's what I cared about close the most.
It's because Joe has no drip.
Like
Joe doesn't
football.
understand the drip. Joe doesn't understand the drip.
Yeah.
He ain't on the same page.
I have minimal drip, I guess
All
we
right,
could
Mike.
say.
None.
Mikey, I'm glad you got my back here, dude.
No, look, Brogan.
Everybody loves
You
Brogan.
and I grew up down here in the South. I'm a big, growing up watching SEC, big fan of the tradition. So I like the same thing every week. The different
That's
uniforms, even as a kid, I was just like, it's flashy, just play football. But I may be different. I
brother.
may have a different opinion than y'all. I don't know.
This guy.
That's fair. But of the one a year, we're going to stay on the unis for a second. The one a year traditional SECs, LSU's all whites were the cleanest thing that ever happened.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, like across all like SEC Southern teams that rock that like once a year, maybe like throwback colorway situation. Anybody was scared of the all whites in Death Valley. That's a little something crazy.
I will say the NCAA football game, that was always fun because you could just mix and match Oregon's uniforms. So I did enjoy that.
And we
I did
didn't
enjoy
get
that.
the trailer.
We didn't get that was supposed to come. We talked about it over and over. We were like halftime. You're at least at end of the third, build up some momentum. No.
Yeah, that
And
graphic.
now it goes.
I had the graphic ready.
It goes from Jaden Daniel. Yeah, it goes from Jaden Daniel being on the cover. Sorry, it has to be Coach. Got to be Coach. Holding up all the trophies.
That's
But I'm cool. I'm cool with the coach, with Coach Saban being on the cover. But I wouldn't be mad if they just put LSU's hype video from Will Stout for that national championship.
that would be pretty good.
I don't care what football team you played on. That swag surfing with some dope handshakes in the hour long, 60 minutes, 60 miles.
Just 60-minute.
I get the blood pumping, you know. Like
that was a good
I'm about
one.
to get on. I'm about to get on dynasty mode and take Alabama to the national championship. Then I'm taking Akron in my 1 5-star
Love
also
it.
to the national championship.
Love it.
So are you going to be the guy after the guy? At Alabama, are you going to be the guy after the guy?
You know what? I'm gonna be the guy after the guy.
You're going to be the guy after the guy.
Should I go to Toledo first and homage? Should I pay homage and go to Toledo first?
You should.
Yeah.
I will say worst.
All right.
So worst football uniforms, in my opinion, two. There's a tie for first and second. It's 1A, 1B. Tebow era Florida alternates with the wings on the shoulder pads, horrendous. Those are horrible. Worst uniforms ever. Tied with Michigan's green on green. I mean, that is horrendous with the block letter state across the front. Terrible. You know what I'm talking about?
the Michigan State green on greens.
Did I say Michigan? I meant Michigan State. If I said Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
It's
If you want to know something worse, also went to UAB where for grad school as well. They adopted the green on greens.
Terrible. Were you at UAB
That's
for?
why they didn't make a bowl game.
Were you at UAB for Dwayne McBride last season?
Yes.
Baller. Okay, we got to get back to the national
Yeah.
championship here.
Yep.
All right, back to the Natty. So that last possession of the first half, Washington goes down and scores. Really creates a ball game. You're 17-10 going into the half. You know, Kalen DeBoer in that locker room. If you're Kalen DeBoer in that locker room, what are you saying? What's your speech to the team?
It's like, what do we have to lose? This is it for us. This is it for the conference. Get after it. Like, everybody's doubted us multiple times from like week 11. We were underdogs in every game after that. Why stop now? Like, what? I think you just push that underdog narrative until you're in the dirt.
Yeah.
And then hope they rally, which I'm sure that's what he did.
Well, in terms of
Why not us? That whole thing.
100%. But okay, so in terms of gameplay, in terms of most important, what would you have said as a coach? We get the ball.
I wouldn't have changed much.
Yeah.
So we're down. Like, we've been down before. Like, trust your guys. They had 16 fourth or fifth years that played in that national championship. You rely on those guys to just say try and true. Nobody freak out. This is our style of ball. We're going to continue playing this style of ball, and which is what they kind of did. They were just limited. Michigan's defense was damn good all year.
Yeah. So to me, I guess more specifically, you scored, you made it a one possession game. You get the ball coming out of half. Your defense, outside of the first couple possessions where you gave up the big runs, your defense is really playing well. Only giving up 2 touchdowns. You did give up a field goal, but you're in it. Like, you're right there in it. Your secondary is playing out of their mind, breaking up some passes. J.J. McCarthy didn't have an amazing day passing the ball. So you're right there. You put Michael Penix Jr. on the field. You put the best wide receivers in the nation, or at least the best group of wide receivers in the nation on the field. It's got to be go out there, play our style of football. We're gonna sling it. We're gonna put up yards. Trust your defense. Don't turn it over.
Yeah.
To me,
Which was my stat of the week.
it was.
Last week.
It absolutely was.
Turnovers.
And you nailed it. but if I'm the head, and look, I'm sure he did say it, but you go out there, your number one priority, don't turn the football over. First play from half, pick. Takes all the air out of Washington. From then on, it's like, okay, this is Michigan's game from here out. You can't have, and look, there was times late in that third quarter where Washington was still in it, only down one possession. You get a holding call that takes away the first down. Michigan gets the ball inside their own 10. There's a no call on one that probably could have been the holding. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that officiating lost that game for Washington. That is not the case at all. Washington had too many missed opportunities to blame it on anything other than themselves. But you turn the ball over like that, it takes all the momentum away, especially when it's a guy who finished second in Heisman voting. Now, he didn't have a ton of help from his O-line. That Michigan front seven was just unstoppable, and Washington had no answers from him. On that pick, Michael Penix Jr. gets stepped on, his ankles rolled, and the rest of the game he's pretty much hobbling around, throwing off his back foot. He doesn't want to take a hit. It's hard to blame him for that. I think he's a warrior, but it was just that last half, watching him struggle like that was tough.
Yeah, I mean, that last drive, like, they had to put him out there. But, I mean, everybody saw the clips. His holding his rib protector, like, man was battered and bruised. He went in the Gladiator. He came out one.
And I was surprised to see him come back out. I mean, his foot was sideways when he got stepped on there by his offensive lineman.
Yeah, I think he's too much a competitor to stay out of that game. Him and the running back, Dylan Johnson. Like, early on, he was slow to get up. And they had, I think, to retape his ankle a little bit. But those two guys, like, they made that season happen. And they were going to have to be dead to take them off that field, that furthers my respect for that team and what that coach has instilled in those players.
No doubt. Well, nonetheless, Michigan wins it. They'll probably hold on to that for a couple years until the investigation's done. Then it'll, of course, get vacated. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But it kind of seems. Also, we posted something on Instagram today. I don't know if you saw this, but an Alabama executive told Pete Thamel that everybody steals signs. He was defending, which is hilarious because it's just straight up an admission that Alabama's stealing signs from an exec.
Except Vanderbilt, and that's why Vanderbilt sucks.
That is literally what he said. He said the only pure thing in college football is Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt sucks. I mean, that's the quote of the year. We need to put that on a shirt, Mikey. That is sick. I love that he said that.
Yeah. It's probably why they're the smartest school in the SEC, too. So
They have baseball. We'll give them baseball.
They do have baseball. But, yeah, so, which is the same. I can't believe he came out and said that as publicly as he did, but that's the known fact around college football itself. That was like the same thing when it all came out. Everybody's like, dude, we all do it. Okay, we just don't send coaches to sit in the fourth row and then get sideline passes with glasses that video camera.
And that's the thing. If you had to place a bet on it, does this season get vacated for Michigan? And I'm not saying you have to know.
Yes, but I don't have any substance. But I don't have any substance behind it. I mean, it's I'm trying to say this as unbiased as I can, but it's just this like disgusting how the whole team was like, yes, we love what we did this season. We love our coach so much. Yada yada yada. The Jim Harbaugh played a father figure almost to the entire team and coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they beat. I don't even remember who it was, and the coach started crying on the sideline. Like, we love you, coach. Like, it's just self-inflicted, dude. He's done 2-3 game suspensions in an 11-game period. Like, stop. Like, all right. Like, I'm glad you love him. That is phenomenal. He's a good coach. He's a good role model to everybody in the program. But, like, don't put him up to this angelical figure that he's this perfect go lucky guy, like free Harbaugh. Like that was just disgusting to watch all season before my team lost to them because they were the better team. So it was like, it was gross. And then seeing all the McCarthy stuff, meditating in the end zone, like, dude.
He's been doing that for 3 years, though. That's not new.
They just finally got a camera on him.
Well, they've had a camera on him. It just hasn't been relevant. But he's been doing that for 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Had something else. Okay, back to the Michigan scandal and if that will even play a role in whether this season gets vacated or if Michigan gets to hold on to that title forever and all that. To me, the only thing that would further the investigation and say that Michigan's got to vacate all that stuff is, do they have the video? Because it's not illegal to go to a college football game. Now, we all know, you and I and Mikey and anybody who likes college football, we can all acknowledge it. Maybe if you're not in Ann Arbor, but we can all acknowledge that what Michigan did was very likely sketchy and they very likely cheated. But unless you can prove it by having the video that Connor Stallions took from the stands of the opposing coaches, then what do you do?
Yeah.
And if they had that video,
I think
to me, if they had that video, they never would have played in the championship. So something tells me that it sucks. Everybody knows, but they can't prove it. Like the glove don't fit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, crazy good comparison. But yeah, I think like the thing that made it grow legs beyond what it was how crazy Connor Stallions is as a person. Like the Michigan manifesto, like, yo, what? Like that alone, like they don't need the video because they know you're so obsessed with the university and stuff like that. But if the video comes out, then it's signed, sealed, delivered.
And being on the Central Michigan sideline. Like
that video is my favorite one, where he's just like looking around, like going, like clicking here, and it's like that video is great.
I'll say
I feel like you have to go after him, but he won't crack. Isn't he like a Navy SEAL? Like
that, I don't know.
He ain't gonna crack. I'm pretty sure.
I will say this because I do feel like we're being a little rough on Michigan here. If you're a Michigan fan, congratulations on the national championship. You deserve it as a fan. You didn't do anything wrong. You had the best team this year. But if you're in Michigan administration, what do we expect out of this next couple of years? I'm very interested. As a college football fan, Michigan tends to gross me out, but congratulations to all the fans.
Yeah.
What do we got on Connor Stallions?
I'm doing some research. I'm trying to find an article that's like kind of has some backing to it, but Stallions worked as a military captain.
There you go.
So like, think he's gonna crack? Like, nah. Let's see. Military captain, Stallions, mastermind, staffer behind the college football stealing controversy. Okay, we all know. But yes, he had some role within the military.
Well, this college football season comes to an end, but to me, look, yeah, you have a college football season where you play the games, but college football is year round. There, you have signing day, you have transfer portal, you have spring ball, you have all that, and then before you know it, we're back to the regular season. So signing day is coming up. We already passed early signing day, but signing day is coming up. Transfer portal is about to open back up, and we'll see where that takes us.
Yeah, I'll be giving weekly updates.
And not
at least
to mention,
on one team.
And not to mention, somebody, whether it's Dan Lanning or otherwise, somebody's taking that Alabama coaching job, and their job's got to get filled. And when somebody takes that job, their job's about to get filled. So we have a coaching carousel that's about to get underway, and I'm excited to cover that as well. So we'll be here.
Agreed.
We'll be here. If you're a fan, obviously you're a fan of a university and not just a college football fan. Your school's got other teams playing sports, so you're going to a basketball game, a baseball game, gymnastics meet, whatever it may be, tennis, I don't care. Go to SeatGeek, use code 10-second runoff, save $20 off your first purchase, and we will see y'all soon.